Hey, this is Eugene, and I want to take this time to thank you for joining me for Music Theory Made Easy. Now, the purpose of these lessons is to show that the learning of music theory can be easy. So get your pencil, get your tablet, and get your manuscript paper so we can go to work. Now, let me say this. If you have any questions, send your questions to Music Made Easy 2020 at gmail.com. That's Music Made Easy 2020 at gmail.com. Send your questions in, and if there's something I can't answer, I'll have somebody come in that'll be able to answer that question for you. Because I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I know everything, because I don't know everything. So send your questions to Music Made Easy 2020 at gmail.com. Now, let me say in the offset that we're going to start with basic music theory, okay? We're going to start with basic music theory. So this might be a review for some people, but we're going to start the first few lessons with basic music theory. Now, I've been asked about going YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Let me say this to you. It is my understanding that in order to go YouTube Live, there are certain requirements, that you have to make. Now, with your help, we can meet those requirements and go live. But now, Facebook Live, give me a little time with that, all right? Give me a little time with that. We're working on it, and we're going to get there, okay? We are going to get there, so just give me a little time to get on to that. All right? So what I need you to do is hit like, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and let's go to work. The first thing we want to deal with is the staff. Now, the staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces. One more time, the staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces. And the way you count a staff is from bottom to top. Okay, you count a staff from bottom to top. The staff consists of 5 lines, 4 spaces, and you count a staff from bottom to top. So let's look up here. These are staffs. You got 2 staffs here. All right. So when you count a staff, remember, when you count a staff from bottom to top. So the first line is at the bottom. That's going to be 1. Second line, 2. Third line, 3. Fourth line, 4. Then my pen trying to go out. And fifth line, 5. The first space at the bottom, second space, third space, and fourth space. So you got 5 lines and 4 spaces on a staff. And if you notice, I counted each time from bottom to top. Bottom to top. Got it? So let's recap that a minute. A staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces. Then you count a staff from bottom to top. One more time. I want to make sure you got it. A staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces, and you count a staff from bottom to top. All right? So let's move on. Let's move on. All right. Now, a staff is divided into measures by what is called bar lines. One more time. A staff is divided into measures by what is called bar lines. All right. So a bar line is just that. It's a line. And that's a crooked line I got there. But let me see if I can make that a little bit straighter. All right. Let me see if I can make that a little bit straighter. But, all right. That's about as straight as I'm going to get it. All right. But anyway, a staff is divided into measures by what is called bar lines. And the space in between bar lines is called a measure. Okay? A staff is divided into measures by bar lines. Okay? Bar lines. And the space in between each bar line is called a measure. Okay, one more time. A staff is divided into measures by bar lines, and the space in between each bar line is called a measure. So I want to make sure you got it. So let's recap a minute. Staff consists of 5 lines, 4 spaces. You count a staff from bottom to top. Okay, count a staff from bottom to top. The staff is divided into measures by bar lines. All right, and the space in between each bar line is called a measure. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. All right. Now, let's look at the letter names of the lines and the spaces on the staff. And we're going to be looking at the letter names of the treble clef or G clef and the bass clef or F clef, okay? The letter names from the treble clef or G clef and the letter names for the bass clef or F clef. So let's start with the treble clef, and we're going to get to that treble clef in a bit. The letter names, the line names for the treble clef is first line is E. Oh, that's a bad looking E. Let me try that again. All right. It's E. First line is E. Second line is G. Third line B. Fourth line D. And fifth line is F. Okay? Remember, we're doing the lines and spaces of the treble clef. Okay? So the first line is E, second line G, third line B, fourth line D, and the fifth line is F. And some of us may know it as every good boy does fine. And if you notice, I'm still going from bottom to top. So there's E, G, B, D, F, or every good boy does fine. That's the line names for the treble or G clef. Now, let's go to the space names for the treble or G clef. So the first space is F, second space is A, third space C, and fourth space is E. Okay? First space F, second space A, third space C, fourth space is E, and F-A-C-E spells face. F-A-C-E spells face. So that's the lines and spaces of the treble or G clef. Okay? The lines and spaces of the treble or G clef. Now, if you're going to play a piano, keyboard, organ, whatever it is, if you're reading music, you're going to find that your lines and spaces, the treble clef is normally played with the right hand. Okay, but we're not getting into piano. But if you're going to play the piano, or if you're going to play the organ or whatever, a keyboard, whatever the case is, the treble or G clef is normally played with the right hand. All right, one more time. The lines and spaces of the treble or G clef is E, G, B, D, F, G, U, E, G, B, D, F. Every good boy does fine, or F-A-C-E, face. Got it? All right. Now let's go to the bass or F clef. Let's go to the bass or F clef. The first line of the bass or the F clef is G. Second line B. Third line D. Fourth line F. And the fifth line is A. Okay. The first line is G. Second line B. Third line, D. And the fourth line is F. And the fifth line is A. G, B, D, F, A. And notice I'm still going bottom to top. So that's good boys does fine always. Good boys does fine always. Remember, that's the lines of the bass, or F clef. The lines of the bass are the F clef. Now, the space of the bass clef is A, C, E, and G. First space is A, second space C, third space E, and fourth space is G. So that's all cars eat gas, or all cows eat grass. Okay, all cars eat gas, or all cows eat, well, you got the idea. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so that's A, C, E, and G. So you got the lines of the bass or F clef, and you got the lines and spaces of the treble or G clef. Okay, you got that written down? All right, we're gonna recap. All right, let's move on. I keep repeating, or I keep going over it from the beginning because I want to make sure that you got it. Okay, one thing that a lot of people, uh, sometimes the teacher or the instructor is moving so fast until they really can't get a handle on what's going on when it comes to music theory. So that's why I stop, recap, and then move on. All right. So we're going to recap right quick. The staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces. Okay. Staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces. You count a staff from bottom to top. The staff is divided into measures by bar lines, and the space in between each bar line is called a measure. The lines and spaces of the treble or G clef is E, G, B, D, and F. That's the lines. Every good boy does fine. And the spaces is F, A, C, and E, or face. Each time we went bottom to top. Now the lines and spaces of the bass or F clef is G, B, D, F, and A. Good boys does fine always. That's the lines of the bass clef. And then the spaces of the bass clef is A, C, E, G. Or all cars eat gas, or all cows eat grass. All right. So if you got that, All right. If you got that, then we're going to move on. All right. We're going to show you now is the G, and show you why they call it the treble clef, the G clef, and why they call the bass clef the F clef. Now, they call the treble clef the G clef, and this is my version of that treble clef. All right, you go up, you come around. Wait. See, I always get this mixed up. Let's do it again. Go up. Now. No. All right. All right. Come around. And the reason it's called the G clef because it circles or crosses the G line. Now, see, I told you, it took me a couple of times to put that thing up there. I never could get that thing right. But anyway, it's called the treble or the G clef because it crosses the G line. Remember, the lines and spaces of the treble clef or G clef, the second line is G. And if you notice, it's crossing or circling the G line. Okay? So that's the treble clef or the G clef. And the reason they call it the G clef is because it circles or crosses the G line. Now let's look at the bass clef. I ought to be able to get this one pretty good now. The bass clef is pretty easy, like a backward C. Now they call it the bass clef or the F clef because your 2 dots that's behind it, you have 1 dot on top of the F line, and then you have a dot at the bottom of the F line. Okay, so you have a dot. You got a dot on top of the F line, and you got a dot at the bottom of the F line. Remember, the lines of the bass or F clef is what? G, B, D, and F. Okay, so you got a dot at the bottom, a dot at the top. Okay, you got a top. Okay, you got a dot at the top and a dot at the bottom. Hey, all right. And normally, you start drawing the bass or the F clef on the F line. Okay, so that's why they call it the treble or G clef, because it crosses the G line or circles the G line, and they call it the bass or the F clef because it starts on the F line, and then each of your dots, you have 1 dot on top of the F line, one dot on the bottom of the F line. So now that's what we're going to do. That's where we're going to stop today. So what we want you to do is just go over. I hope you got it written down. Go over what we've talked about today. Study it, Because let me tell you something. If you can get the basic music theory, then whatever we getting ready to do down the line, you ought to be able to get. All right? If you can get basic music theory, just get the basic music theory, you'll be all right when we get down to the other things dealing with music theory. All right, we're going to recap one more time. And here it is. The staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces. The staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces. How do you count a staff? You count a staff from bottom to top. Okay? You count a staff from bottom to top. Then the staff is divided into measures by bar lines. One more time. The staff is divided into measures by bar lines, and the space in between the bar lines is called a measure. Now, the next thing we dealt with was the lines and spaces of the treble or G clef and the bass or F clef. In the treble clef, the letter names for the lines is E, G, B, D, and F. E, G, B, D, and F. Every good boy does fine. That's the lines of the treble or G clef. Now, the spaces of the treble or G clef is F, A, C, E, and that spells nothing but face. So that's the lines and spaces of the treble or G clef. Now, the lines and spaces of the bass or F clef is G, D, B, F, and A. Okay? G, D, B, F, and A. Good boys does fine always. One more time. Good boys does fine always. That's the lines of the bass or the F clef. Now, the spaces of the bass or the F clef is A, C, E, G. One more time. A, C, E, G. All cars eat gas, or all cows eat grass. So that's the lines and spaces of the treble or G clef, and the lines and spaces of the bass or F clef. So study your notes. And like I said before, if you can get through these few lessons that deals with basic music theory, when we get to up higher, as I call it, when we get to the other parts of music theory, then you ought to be able to do it with no problems, okay? So thank you for joining me for this first lesson on music theory, and we'll look to see you the next time. Talk to you later.